This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Some days are diamonds, some days are rocks, some doors are open, some roads are blocked, and sundowns are golden, then fade away. And if I never do nothing, I'm coming back someday. 'Cause you got a heart so big it could crush this town, and I can't hold out forever, even walls fall down.
Place to Be Nation Pop, it's Conversation Comics. What it is and what it was, what it will be. How are you? My name's Todd Weber. I am, as always, your host of this show, where we look at least this iteration of the show, we are looking at classic comic book runs. We are in the middle of the John Byrne and Chris Claremont Uncanny X-Men from the late 70s, early 80s. Today we're going to talk about Uncanny X-Men 134, the climax of the battle between the X-Men and the Hellfire Club, and kind of the end of the middle of the Dark Phoenix saga, hurtling towards some very, very significant developments in X-Men lore, if you will. I bring back my buddy Tim Capel to talk about this issue. Tim is on fire as the most in-demand guest here on Place to Be Nation Pop. He is everywhere, guest starring on all kinds of shows, and even crossing over to the main network and talking some wrestling on the mothership. But I'm lucky to have him with me once again. Our schedules have aligned, mostly mine. I am the busiest guy I can think of, and that's not a brag, that's not a shoot, that's just the way it is. So I'm glad to be back, but I'm even more glad to have my friend Tim on to talk about the Uncanny X-Men once again. Tim, it has been too long. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. I understand you've done some good eating here recently at the Aloha Festival. Is that what it was?
Yes, I did. I went to a local, that is Northern California, Hawaiian festival at the California State Fairgrounds called the Aloha Festival, where there was lots of Hawaiian crafts and vendors and food, but not as much plate lunch as I would have liked. But we got good shave ice and we got to see some good things. So it wasn't a total loss. My son bought this little mini Hawaiian ecosystem in a jar that has not brine shrimp, some kind of shrimp in them that he has taken to calling them pets. So it was a nice trip. We needed to get out of the house on a Saturday. What have you been up to over there on the East Coast, sir?
Oh, not too terribly much, reading some comics. And you mentioned some brine shrimp, and immediately I thought of maybe some ads for sea monkeys that perhaps we'll come across in these here issues. I'll let you know if any come up.
Yeah, please do, because my Marvel Unlimited don't replicate the ads. It's just story. It's kind of like watching the ads-free versions of shows on Hulu or Netflix. We have no commercial breaks.
Yeah.
So I miss out on the Hostess fruit pies and all the great Charles Atlas ads that we used to have in the comics books of yore.
Yeah, that's, I guess, sort of a downside, but at the same time doesn't interrupt your reading experience. So sort of all in what you're looking for, I suppose.
Yeah, it depends. If you're just purely about the nostalgia of the era, and then you want the Heroes World catalog ads with the Mego figures in there and all the old stuff that you would see in the vintage comic books, or if you're just about the story and art, that's okay too. But that's what services like Marvel Unlimited and Comixology are for. You get just the pure story from the creators, none of the fat that subsidizes the release of the issues in the real world.
Yep.
So we are here. We are looking at, once again, continuing our run of John Byrne, Chris Claremont, or Chris Claremont and John Byrne, if you prefer, Uncanny X-Men from the late 70s, early 80s. last we left you off with issue 133. It was a cliffhanger where the Hellfire Club were about to kill the X-Men, and Jean Grey has succumbed to becoming the Dark Phoenix, or at least the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club with the Phoenix effect. So something's going on. Tim, what's your general feeling about this particular run? Do you think this is like the ultimate, the best part of the Dark Phoenix saga?
Yeah, the Dark Phoenix saga we've talked about is kind of structured in 3 acts, and it's 3 issues apiece for 9 issues total. And that was not necessarily by design, but through quirks of scheduling and editorial mandates, as we'll see a little bit later on, it just sort of worked out nice and symmetrically that way. And this, I guess, second act that is now being brought to a close is where we've really seen an escalation, throughout the course of these issues in this story. And we started out with Jean's sort of very subtle changes, and then she slips into, as you mentioned, her Black Queen persona. And that's going to really hit a crescendo here as we move into the final stretch. So this is this issue, you can think of it as transitioning between the second and third final acts of the Dark Phoenix saga. And I mean, it really has been one issue building on the next. And that escalation of tension and suspense has been really palpable in this rereading experience.
Yeah.
So I especially enjoyed. We were both pretty into, I think, last issue, which had Wolverine essentially dieharding his way through the Hellfire Club mansion. So that was pretty cool, and interested to see how it picks up from there.
Yeah, it was, it's an iconic issue, that 133 with Wolverine from the basement, and kind of treated a superstar in Wolverine. And so this is following up on that, although everything is kind of looking at the worst for the X-Men. Wolverine hasn't broken through and rescued anybody yet. He's not he's just on route, I suppose. He's about to get up there to they're upstairs, I believe. And
yes.
So let's look at this cover for 134. We have, kind of the earmarks of the traditional X-Men covers. You have the logo, you have the Marvel Comics Group and the Comic Code stamp up top. You also have the corner box with the core X-Men as drawn by John Byrne. But Jean Grey has never actually been part of those, even though all these stories have been about the Phoenix saga, and she's been one of the focal points, especially on this second act, as you were talking about, the Dark Phoenix saga. She's never been officially a part of the team, or at least pushed as a part of the team in the corner, if you will.
That is odd, and I sort of noticed that too. And I mean, I very much think of her as a part of the cast and as a member of the team proper. I know they were separated for a little while, but she was still a presence in the series, and they've been reunited now since, I mean, even before the start of this Dark Phoenix saga run that we're going through. So it is weird that she didn't migrate to the corner box at some point. I know Banshee was in there for a little while, and appropriately enough, he is now gone since he's out of the main cast. So yeah, we're down to 5.
Yeah, and I know we'll eventually get a 6th X-Man in there, kind of a replacement for Jean Grey, not power-wise, but at least personality-wise, coming up here in a few weeks, or a few issues. But I digress. We have a very nice primary color cover with the yellow backdrop of the Dark Phoenix effect, and Jean Grey kind of in the middle between the Phoenix and the X-Men versus the Hellfire Club in a traditional left to right. Good guys on the left, bad guys on the right. You've seen that in the X-Men 100 issue. You saw it in some of the DC, just a lot of the digests or Treasury editions. That's what I was looking for. The Treasury. There's a famous one with DC characters all lined up on the left, and then the Legion of Doom or the Secret Society of Supervillains on the right. One, paired off almost.
Think of the X-Men animated series too.
That's true. Yeah.
That opening iconic sequence.
I'm gonna have to dig up my tape of Greg Phillips doing the theme song. That's cool.
Yeah.
So
I like the green trim on the logo too. You don't often see green very prominently on most covers of this era for various different reasons, but I think it looks pretty good here.
But green, yellow, and red, with the exception of the Jean Grey figure in her Black Queen regalia, which looks bluish here, just because that's how they draw black in comics.
Yeah.
So you do kind of have a subtle Phoenix coloration on the cover, at least as far as her traditional costume.
Exactly.
And we've never seen it in red. It has not. It's always been a green miniskirt, not miniskirt, but I don't know what you describe it. It's just tights, and then with that sash, that yellow sash. So classic Phoenix costume is drawn by Dave Cockrum, designed by Cockrum, and then drawn by Byrne. I have a old issue of Bizarre Adventures, which was a early 80s, late 70s Marvel magazine. It might be more of a mid 80s one, actually. That was painted by Paul Gulacy, and it had a great image of the green Phoenix, and then Iceman and Nightcrawler, and it's fully painted. Back in the day when you wouldn't see painted art such as Alex Ross, and that may still be my favorite drawing of Jean Grey as the Phoenix. Although I like Byrne's take on her, always have.
I'm picturing that in my head, and I think I know what you're talking about.
It's an issue called Secret Lives of the X-Men. It was 3 short black and white magazine-sized stories. Claremont wrote most of them, if not all of them.
And they were like anthology stories, right?
Yeah, almost like they were inventory stories that they had to use somewhere, but they could have, I suppose they could have used that as subplots or written them into or Marvel fanfare or something. I don't know if they had any other place to use those stories, because they were kind of all over the place. I think George Perez actually did one of the art for Iceman. I'm going to have to dig it up. I may have sold that issue a couple times, but it used to be one of the holy grails for me. Like, you wouldn't find these magazine-size issues too often where I lived. I would see comics on the racks, but I wouldn't find the Marvel magazines like the Savage Hulk or the Conan magazines. And Bizarre Adventures was kind of an anthology book, but I didn't know it had more than just the classic sci-fi or horror stories you would see in those. It had actual superhero stories from Marvel.
Right. And it's funny how you mentioned they sort of seemed like inventory stories that were just sitting in a drawer, and they get this very prestige type presentation.
Yeah.
So talk about
I love that cover. I really do. I may have to, even though it's not John Byrne, I may have to use it in this posting for the story. So we got the splash page, and Cyclops remains bound, and he's got a helmet that negates his Cyclops' optic blasts are neutralized. We had left him, and he had been seemingly killed, but he's fine. He's not dead.
It's funny. The last issue left off with Nightcrawler dramatically declaring Cyclops is dead. His first line in this issue: "Storm, Colossus, look, Cyclops is alive."
Yeah. What if you're reading these in sequence, not a month in between, right?
I know.
Or two. Well, yeah, this was 1 month at this point. You'd go, oh, great, that was page to page. The rest of the X-Men are still captive, and you have Jason Wingard kind of celebrating their position. I don't know if they're going to execute the X-Men or they're just celebrating that Jean is full-on heel turn member of the Hellfire Club.
Yes.
His pet, if you will. Missing is Wolverine. Wolverine is still working his way up from the basement, from the bowels, trying to catch up with the Hellfire Club in the inner circle here. So we have no changes in the credits of the story, I don't believe. Is this Jim Salicrup? Has he been editing this for a bit, or?
Yeah, he's been around for a little bit. He, I can't remember which issue exactly he came in, but he took over from Roger Stern when Stern left the editorial staff. I think maybe our colorist is Bob Sharon, who
not Glynis.
we have seen.
We're used to Glynis, right?
Right, we're used to Glynis Oliver, or
Wayne,
was she Wayne at the time? But in any case, we're used to her as the colorist, but we've seen Bob Sharon in an earlier issue that was a little bit, I don't know, seemed murkier than most of the coloring on this title, but I mean, wasn't appreciably worse. But we'll see if it makes a difference throughout this one here.
As a kid, I was reading and paying attention to those credit boxes all too closely, I think. I wonder if, people reading the comics these days care all that much about colorists and letterers unless they really enhance and editors, unless they really are doing something unique to the story, or if it's appreciably different from the last issue.
I tell you, when I'm kind of binge reading comics, which with these back issues I find myself doing sometimes, you do notice the influence of the inker a lot more, kind of
absolutely
issue to issue. Like, I don't want to cast aspersions necessarily, but it seemed like there was this stretch where Al Milgrom would pop up as like a kind of fill-in inker, just sort of a utility go-to guy in like the mid to late 80s, even throughout the 90s. And if I didn't take note of his name in the credits, boy, would I notice it in the art itself, because it was like, what is going on here? Why does Walt Simonson look like shit in this? And it was like,
it's interesting because he had a good reputation, or you'd read it and fanboys, or at least the people writing in, would say, oh, I love Milgram's, or I prefer Milgram's inks to his pencils. He had this long stretch writing or drawing the Avengers, and then having Joe Sinnott ink it, and it was not my favorite thing in the whole world, let me tell you that. Sinnott's fine. Sinnott looks like Joe Sinnott. You can always tell when he inks something. It always looks kind of glossy.
Yes.
But those, especially things like the Iron Man drawings that Milgrom would do, or his vision was very clunky. And Milgrom designed one of my favorite characters in all of comics, the original Ronnie Raymond Firestorm. That's all Milgrom in the 80s or 70s, late 70s. But yeah, that's a guy. I know he was well regarded as an editor for Marvel Fanfare, and I like that book quite a bit. But I never got why anybody thought he was a good artist on any front.
No, he was just sort of a jack of all trades. It seemed like he would write, he would pencil, ink. He was even an editor, so he just sort of did it all. And I'm sure that's why he was as respected in the industry. But boy, not a joy when he sort of did the rounds on or replaced whoever the regular artistic contributors were to a series. It was
and Stern and Milgrom had the Avengers for a long time in the 80s.
Yeah. And I am a fan of the Stern written Avengers, but you're right, there is some shaky art throughout that series.
Yeah, and I just cranking them out month to month. I remember you had John Buscema doing a lot of it too, or coming back to the book, and that was a little better than Milgrom, I would say. It depends on the finishes too, but he was getting up there in age at that point quite a bit. You could tell in the work. All right, so back to this splash page. Jean Grey, you can't really tell what's going on. She does look maybe a bit suitably confused, but you do have the Hellfire Club inner circle with their bows in their hair, which is very cute. They look like kittens. from the back, they all have the so.
Quite pretty, yes.
We get
and this whole hullabaloo about Cyclops being alive, it comes as a bit of a surprise because Jason Wingard, aka Mastermind, killed him in a psychic duel last issue. So you would expect his mental image, his ego, to die as it did, that would have dire consequences for him in the physical world as well, but he is sustained by the psychic rapport that he shares with Jean.
Do they explain that, or is it just kind of
Yeah, I mean, he's thinking it in the thought bubbles here, and they did establish that the psychic rapport was created earlier in the story, so there is kind of some precedent for it, and it basically gives him a get out of jail free card, I suppose. But I don't know. It doesn't really take away from the cliffhanger of last issue. I think they do sort of earn this one. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I guess so. I hate the fake out death.
Right.
Back then, it was a trope, a cliche. I guess it still is to this day. But let's talk about the next page, and we get a classic Byrne panel conceit, if you will, of the same four characters or same group of characters in the same pose in consecutive panels with slight costume differences or some kind of explanation or time shift. And what's happened here is we have how they look right now in captivity, and then your second panel, the exact same four characters in the same pose, but in their armored forms or their actual superhero attire without
how they're supposed to look.
Right, where they're not prisoners, and then on the third panel is how Jean Grey is seeing them right now. So you have you have the slave girl Storm, you have the Paul Revere Cyclops, and
Right.
and I'm trying to think who Colossus reminds me of, and I couldn't quite. It's not Gaston, but it's the kind of the big bully from the Headless Horseman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works.
But I can't remember.
I can see Gaston also.
And then somebody killed. Let's see. Nightcrawler is Inigo Montoya here, I think.
Yeah, that's wow. Mm.
And they
Excellent.
Continue that theme, introducing Mastermind and Jean Grey to the crowd, because pages like this, recap pages, you're going to find in all the comics of the time, because every comic is somebody's first. And these days, with things written for the trade, we don't see these as often. A page that's just dedicated to catching the reader up on what's gone before, because we didn't have the internet back then. We had to rely on our friends or our own memories or just figure it out, as you're reading, learn what was going on. So many people these days, I don't want to get into that. There's too much backstory before I want to start it. But we didn't have that luxury back then. We had to figure it out as it was going.
Yeah, we had our headcanon when we couldn't figure it out. Just put the pieces in place in whatever way it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
I mean, eventually we got things like the Handbook of the Marvel Universe that would explain a lot of the stuff that had gone before, and by Marvel Saga, things like that, where they filled in blanks for you. But most of this is kind of, you got to read about it in the actual book and keep track. You do have Byrne keeping that theme of the contrasting characters, how they're being seen and how they normally are. And you see that with the Black Queen, Jean Grey. She has a mole when she's the Black Queen. She does not have a mole when she's just normal doe-eyed redhead Jean Grey. Then we see Jason Wingard as his Hellfire Club incarnation, and then the way he normally is, which is looks like a creepy homeless dude behind your school gym with a trench coat. I wonder if he even, he's an illusionist. He can make himself look better, but he doesn't. Maybe he just doesn't care because he can. He doesn't have to. To take care of old Jason.
Yeah.
Well, here they're saying Wingard is a facade, when obviously that character that Jean's interacting with is a projection or is an illusion, and Mastermind's the real guy. But isn't that his actual name though?
I think so. Yes, he does have two daughters who have the last name Wingard, so seems to follow that is his real name.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. Byrne just cuts loose with this. It's pretty dense, like you said, but serves as that introduction for readers who maybe haven't been following along from the start of the story. And this is one of the unique strengths of comics as a medium where you can do this kind of thing and do it economically to get that across. You won't find that in other forms of entertainment. So great on Byrne for utilizing that to his advantage.
That's something you could only do in comics. I think you're right. I mean, I would kill to own this page. I'm not an original art collector who can be. It's so expensive. I did just recently buy a George Perez page from the Avengers run with Busiek. And I'm amazed
man.
I was able to get it for what I got. I think just nobody else saw it and bid because it had no bids on it. It was it wasn't as much as you would imagine. I mean, usually original art, especially from a name creator, is upwards of $500 to $1,000, sometimes even more than that. This was nowhere near that close. So, of course, I haven't opened it yet. I could have been fished, but this guy had hundreds and hundreds of good reviews on eBay. So,
okay,
I'm thinking I haven't, but I've been waiting to the right time to open it safely. And I have 2 pages of Tom Coker original art too from some of his Image stuff. So I would love to get Byrne in there someday. I know you go to cons and you see it, or you go on eBay and see it, but I never thought I could afford original comic book art. Now I'm craving it.
Yeah, you're not kidding. This would be a great one to have in your
really
house.
Would black and white, and just seeing how he laid that whole thing out would be beautiful. Finally, he on the bottom he introduces characters that are only seen one way. They have no alter egos or alternate ways of being taken in, and that is the remaining members of the Inner Circle. Harry Leland, aka redheaded Orson Welles, on the left.
Yep.
Sebastian Shaw, based on Robert Shaw, and in the middle he's the boss. And then on the right, Donald Pierce, based on Donald Sutherland, not Alan Alda as we.
No, not that one.
But pretty cool. I mean, at the time, or even years later, I didn't even think about how these characters were based on those people, those personalities, and now I can't think of the character without, especially Donald Pierce. I mean, it's so obviously Donald Sutherland now.
Yeah. As he was then.
Yep. Yeah, he was. But I wonder, just how savvy readers were to picking up on those things.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of probably depends on the audience, their age, and certainly exposure to these other elements. I mean, I guess Robert Shaw, you know, Jaws is going to be pretty popular in the public consciousness by this point, but Orson Welles, I don't know. That again really is going to depend on your readership.
I think you're right. I mean, Orson Welles was probably still well known at the time for doing "We Will Serve No Wine Before It's Time" kind of commercials. And he was in the Muppet movie, as I've referred to before. So I was,
yeah, that's true.
As a kid, I was aware of him, but I just don't know that I would have made the connection with it. So we get more backstory, or at least recap, with Wingard celebrating, Jean Grey brooding outside, or looking outside at the stormy night in New York, and there is a midwinter gale going on. So the water level, this explains that the water level in the sewers have been rising, and that Wolverine has cut through all the power cables insulation. So we're setting ourselves up for a blackout, is what I think they're talking about.
Yeah, this is paying off that panel. There's even an editorial footnote here. Jim Salicrup on the ball says, see X-Men number 132, page 10, panel 6 and 7. So yeah, Wolverine slashed the insulation cables in the sewer, the insulation on the cables in the sewer when they made their entrance into the Hellfire Club mansion. So the rising water is going to be exposed to these cables and, like you said, trigger this blackout. So paying off that little bit from earlier.
And that kind of sets the stage because Wolverine is on the loose and he's about to make his entrance into the inner sanctum here. breaking through with a couple of Hellfire Club cronies on his shoulders, trying to hold him back. So we get Wolverine bursting through, kind of not nonchalantly. He's struggling to get through. We get a great sound effect from Orkazowski, it's Orkazowski, or Zakowski. There it is. I said it right. Scratch as he goes through the door.
As he barrels through these double doors with guys just hanging off of him.
And my favorite part of that panel is not just Wolverine coming through the door, but Sebastian Shaw yelling, screaming in fury that Wolverine is not dealt with yet. He is he swore that Harry Leland, who used his powers to make Wolverine go all the way to the basement and drown in the rising sewer. Shaw is telling him that he's really upset about this, obviously, and Wolverine's going to free the X-Men and get everybody out. So Jean Grey, aka the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club, is directed by Wingard to neutralize Wolverine, and so she does. And she has her own thought bubble here, which is kind of confusing to me, perhaps. So is this her? She says that Jason will be a pleasure, more of one than you can possibly imagine. Where she's directed to stop Wolverine. Is she? Has she turned here? Has she realized, is Good Jean still in there, or what's the purpose of that? Or is
I think that this
Phoenix?
Yeah, I feel like this thought bubble is maybe purposely vague, because in her body language throughout the issue thus far, she seemed a little bit conflicted, like there's something going on under the surface, but we don't know whether she's coming back around, if the effects of Wingard's manipulations are wearing off, or she's
we do actually at the bottom of the page, we do see it.
Okay.
So yeah, I was wrong. This is her. She's broken free because she's reestablishing the link with Cyclops, and she frees him, and she's talking to him in his head, obviously.
Right. Yeah, I mean, she does keep up appearances by sort of dealing with Wolverine, but at the same time, telekinetically snaps the lock on Scott's helmet, this ruby quartz helmet that's sort of shackled around his head to keep his powers in check. It's a very subtle turn there, but pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it. I guess you could still use that thought bubble from above as a hint that she's got a more of the surrendering to the Phoenix ultimately, if that's what's going on. I don't know if that's what you were referring to. I didn't know that she was going to free herself of Mastermind at this point, but I don't know. Does she hate Wolverine, or is she just saying that because
right,
she hates Mastermind now, and then this is going to be a diversion so she can free the rest of the team? So I don't know. I've spent too much time pontificating on that. But
well, we do nothing if not overthink these issues.
That's the name of the game
episodes
here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great effect with Cyclops shooting, freeing his eyes, or at least being able to loosen the helmet, and so he propels it with his. He just shoots it off his head, and I don't know if it splits the back of it or what, because it I don't know if the lock sealed it. I guess it did. It was holding it together so that the it didn't shatter when he blasted it off. He just uses it as a blunt force instrument against Donald.
Propels it forward.
Yeah, and pretty awesome. And then he frees
Max Pierce in the back of the head.
That's a great sound effect, or at least his onomatopoeia there.
Yes.
That's an all-timer. I like that quite a bit. I'm gonna have to use that panel for something. Some nefarious purpose of parody, making fun of fellow Place to Be Nation members of some sort. Gene or Scott.
I'm for it. I'm for it.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it. We'll see. Like Scott frees the rest of the X-Men who are bound, and carefully he talks about how he can't just nonchalantly, excuse me, blast. He's got to be super duper careful not to hurt anyone's arms, but he frees them. He then turns upon Harry Leland, pins him to the wall with his force blast, and then we get another great sound effect of spadow. I'm really noticing all these, and then Leland replies, "Woof."
And the optic blast going through the P and spadow.
Yeah, just great. That's just fun comics.
Just sort of hangs the sound effect around the energy blast, and we've got Leland going through the wall, through is that the banister? Okay, he's so they're upstairs obviously, and these people in kind of the lobby below just see this large man go flying through the air.
Yeah, that's not going to be pleasant finish. Although we see a couple pages later, or a couple panels later, that he doesn't explode or anything upon impact.
No, that would really be against the comics code.
Yeah, kind of a Monty Python thing going on here. But Wolverine is free to do as he will. Jean urges him, "Go, Wolverine," and then Wolverine says, "Sneaky moves, lady. You're a woman after my own heart." And then she replies, mentally, it looks like, or she this is something he can hear. "I know. I wish I wasn't," which is interesting. Yeah. So especially,
you may be onto something with these.
Yeah,
maybe
she knows on some level what's about to happen to her.
I think so. Yeah,
that's what's going on. And she lets it. So Wolverine calls back to when Leland had dumped Wolverine through the floor, and Wolverine saying this is a rematch. But here comes Sebastian Shaw to the rescue. He removes his silk robe and takes on Cyclops. And Sebastian Shaw's got the most unique powers of all the group here. He can redirect or store kinetic energy and then bring it back at you. So he becomes a pretty good foe for people like Cyclops, right?
Yes. So if Cyclops just, blasts him as he would any other enemy, that would just empower Shaw. He converts that energy into, physical strength. So not a good idea to attack him directly, which Cyclops has learned from their previous encounter. So he just puts him through the floor instead.
Yeah, and that's pretty sharp thinking, a la Green Lantern, where he can't interact with Yellow, or it's a nice nod by Claremont to show that these characters are not just fighting force with force. They're thinking about how to beat each character, each villain. We have Pierce calling after Shaw, but Colossus captures him in his human form. He has not yet turned to his bioorganic metal steel, but Pierce, with his cyborg powers or cyborg abilities, which we don't get a whole lot of understanding how integrated the robot parts are with him, other than I think he had his hand damaged not too long ago, right? Where we saw that.
I believe so, and we'll be seeing some more of that throughout the issue.
Yeah. So yeah. If you were reading, you wouldn't necessarily know he was a cyborg. At this point, you don't see anything robotic about him. But he's talking about it. He says, "With my cyborg limbs, I can bend steel, so smashing you, Man of Steel, should be child's play." But of course, Colossus arrogantly didn't turn to his armored form when he tried to snatch Pierce.
And he's pulled that move a few times and gotten himself in trouble. So I suppose it is a consistent bit of characterization, but he kind of looks like a dumbass here that he would do that. And Cyclops chides him for it too.
he's still the baby of the team, so he's overconfident sometimes, even though he is somewhat humble as a personality. But yeah, Cyclops does call him out on this. Cyclops is a great leader. He is kind of the ideal. You saw in Teen Titans going on at the same time, New Teen Titans. Robin was the same kind of leader, where he just wasn't somebody who was the person who made decisions for the team, but he was in charge of the training and getting them to think and work as a unit. You see writers really pay attention to that back in the day. The team leadership thing, or when Cap was in charge of the Avengers, or even Janet Van Dyne was the leader of the Avengers. You can see her calling out actual plans, and I liked when the writers would go the extra step and give you specific personalities for the leaders of the team and their leadership tactics, their style of leaders. I was never a big Cyclops fan, but I appreciate that there's no other appropriate leader at this point for the team, although that will change maybe 60 issues from now or so.
Yeah. And I mean, if you are a Cyclops fan, I wonder who that could be.
I know one.
It's this. I mean, it's definitely this run that's going to cement it for you more than any other. I mean, although I started reading comics in the 90s and reading comics of the 90s, that portrayal of Cyclops is not super easy to get on board with. But you go back to especially not even the early, Silver Age X-Men, where everybody's sort of cookie cutter in their characterization. But when you get heavy into these Claremont issues, I mean, everybody's a star in their own way. Everybody shines. And Cyclops, definitely, we've seen in this issue alone how the team has rallied. I mean, we opened with everybody in chains at the mercy of the Hellfire Club. Cyclops himself, supposedly dead, is not, but has come around and turned the tide in really surprising fashion here. I mean, they have got the Hellfire Club on the ropes now.
Yes, this is a babyface heat segment. If you're a fan of tag team wrestling, somebody, Jean Grey made the hot tag to Cyclops, and
that's right.
Yeah, the good guys are getting some offense in. Mastermind is running away like the little bitch that he is. He is afraid of what could happen to him, and so he blends into the wall, which I thought was a cool use of his power. So he doesn't just put shadows over him. He's like a chameleon. He puts himself into the wall, which is pretty good use. Of course, he's just an illusionary. His powers are creating illusion in other people's minds, yes. their perceptions. So if there was a camera set up in the room, it would still show him, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so he has psychic powers that create illusions, and that's connected. I mean, we all know this. Just kind of recapping and maybe showing him a little bit different from the rest of the other shapeshifters and things from people. So we have Wolverine doing what move is this? This is kind of a crossbody from the top rope.
A little bit, yeah.
Jumping off the ceiling, the balcony, onto
maybe a Superfly splash.
Yeah, there we go. Superfly splash, or a 5-star Wolverine splash. I don't have it. But this is probably my favorite bit in this particular fight, is that Leland, who has the power to control massive objects like Starboy or the Legion of Superheroes, he can make affect something's gravitational pull, or the way the gravity works on that person, right, by increasing it anyway. And so his reaction to Wolverine plopping down on him or flying down on him is to increase Wolverine's mass as he falls, which only aids Wolverine's abilities in smashing him, or we don't see the claws going through his skull or anything. He's just landing on it. But so quickly, Wolverine must have retracted his claws, or was the Byrne or Terry Austin were instructed not to show him with that going through. But you have to think Leland's about to die here.
Well, he made a dumb move. It says he instinctively reached out and used his power, like you said, but Wolverine, upon impact, has just driven him through the floor, driven both of them through the floor, in fact. So once again, how the tide has turned. We had Leland, when he first encountered Wolverine and used his powers, put him down like a dog and forced him through several layers of this Hellfire Club mansion into the sewer, and now Wolverine is getting his comeuppance. So it is pretty cool to see that reversal of fortune.
Yeah, I do enjoy this part quite a bit. You have Shaw running away, it looks like, at that point. He's trying to retreat and regroup. But what I do like is Shaw notices what a good leader Cyclops has become. And
yeah, he comments on it, well, in his thoughts.
His thought bubble. But and Shaw even says, I like that. In a matter of, he's talking about Cyclops finding a flaw in their defenses, a la Karnak, and sorry. But unlike Karnak, something interesting actually happened.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, sorry. Well, they have replaced the X-Men in Marvel's eyes. So.
Oh right, yes,
so
it's so successful.
Oh my God, good Lord.
That's what we should be reviewing.
Yeah. Well. I have so little free time as it is. I'd rather review things that are good. And
that'll put some butts in the seats, right?
Yeah. Ironically, I bet Shivani was just told to say that by Bischoff, right?
He said he was told to say it by, I think, Annette Yothers, who was like some producer or production assistant or something, who was told by Bischoff to tell him to say it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, that just sounds like arrogant Bischoff at his finest, you know.
Yeah.
But that was, to me, the time that Raw never looked back. I mean, Raw was back and forth with Nitro at the time, but that was that night, you know. Bischoff was a bit too petty with his Foley hate that night, and
right.
People switched to Raw.
He was very apologetic to Mick Foley after. I mean, he didn't want to say it at the time and said it under duress, and then immediately after the show, like, called Foley and was like, that was not coming from the heart at all. I feel terrible about saying it. They made me say it.
Foley's got a pretty, well, I mean, it's become wrestling talk, ladies and gentlemen. That's okay.
We know our audience.
Yeah, we know who we're talking to. Foley's got to have a thick skin. I mean, just all the people who've taken shots at him over the years, and yet he's still has a good relationship with the main companies he worked for. Well, I have no idea how he and Jarrett are, but they did business.
Yeah.
No, I think the world of Foley, just because if I were a pro wrestler, I would probably have to get by with the creativity that he used. You know, the looks and things weren't there. He had to create this persona that got over another way. So if I were to get a tattoo of a person, it would be Mick Foley. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, I've thought about this.
Very good.
So ask Cactus Jack, not Mankind or Dude
yeah,
Love, but yeah, the classic Cactus Jack. So all
I
right.
got you.
So here we go. We to continue the wrestling talk. Cyclops had them on the ropes in a matter of seconds, according to Shaw. And
that's right.
Shaw is talking about how he fears that Jean Grey finally overcame Wingard's power and broke it. So, which we didn't really see it happening or about to happen. It just kind of like, ta-da, I'm free. We didn't see her struggling with it. So she...
Yeah, I mean, for all they know, they just all of a sudden started getting their asses whipped by the X-Men, who were up until moments before were their prisoners. So
but here's
obviously something happened.
Yeah, and so Shaw's sharp. He's a very smart guy. Here's where I earned my no prize. Jean Grey was able to free herself from Wingard because she's becoming her full Phoenix powers are really manifesting here. So,
Yeah.
But they had been Wingard had kind of caused that on his own by fucking with her mind so much.
Right. Yeah. That's sort of the through line is that even though she has broken free of him, I mean, something was stirring in her even before this really got ramped up. So I think he is maybe just helped along what was going to occur inevitably in due course.
And that's kind of the big picture we're looking at for these stories. It's the through line of Phoenix's evolution and change into the Dark Phoenix entity. It's kind of the history, the big thing that had never been seen before in comics at this point.
Yep.
We get Nightcrawler and Storm kind of teaming up to take out, or at least slow down Shaw. And that was a pretty cool moment too, because they've been fairly ineffectual here, and you see them working together, which is nice, and taking out
double teaming him. Yes,
the most powerful member of the team. And neither of them are powerless in their own means, but they've been in recent issues have been shown not contributing a whole lot to the X-Men's offense.
Yeah, and that's a shame because, like you said, Storm really take Jean out of the equation. I mean, she's on a whole other level, but Storm is a massive powerhouse.
Yes, yeah.
And hasn't really been able to get her licks in, like you said. And I noticed she does not have her headdress at this point, so I guess she lost that while she was captive. But
well, maybe they knew that it's like when she was captured by the White Queen, she uses her headdress, or she's used her. It's known by the villains at this point that she can use that to escape from things. So maybe
she's got lock picks in it,
hiding them everywhere. It's everywhere.
Right.
And we do a jump cut to the Beast, Hank McCoy, who's kind of monitoring the situation. Yes, is that what his job is here? Or
yeah, he's an Avenger at this point. So we're actually in Avengers Mansion. He is on monitor duty. I guess the other Avengers are out of town, as you do in these stories. And that's kind of cool that we see him in that acknowledgement of, okay, we're going to bring in another character who belongs to another book now, but we have to get them from point A to point B. We're not just going to drop them in the middle of the story. So this is the creative team showing their work in order to extract him from the Avengers for a little bit.
Okay. And you do get his inner monologue here talking about how he's not as close with anybody on the Avengers as he was with his X-Men buddies. They were a family. So, and then conveniently the alarm goes off. I wish I had as clear thoughts and clear and concise thoughts as these characters have in their thought bubbles. I mean, they're
I know, right?
It's so linear. Their thoughts are I don't think like that.
Well, and especially in the heat of battle. I mean, like you can think practically a novel in the span of
right.
Throwing a punch, I guess.
Right. You're doing three things at one time. You're fighting. You're doing the physical activity. You're talking to the opponent, or you're and then you have the thought bubbles at the same time. Or your thought, three levels of storytelling. That's a thing you can do in comics, and I don't know. And the readership tends not to question it too much.
Yeah, it's one of those tropes of comics that it does read a little bit oddly, but I think it's the objective is to get across a point more so than these are, like you said, they're actual linear thoughts that they're having.
It's first.
They have to be represented that way, but
I suppose you could have a third person narrator. You could write it in the kind of the narration boxes too, like just saying what he was thinking about or that. But it does help.
That's kind of how you see it today.
Give you the voice of the character. Yeah, you do see it more today than you do in the past with the the thought bubbles, inner monologues, and Claremont and Marv Wolfman, the two guys I read the most, even Jerry Conway, the writers I was reading the most as a 8 to 15-year-old. Those guys, that's kind of their trademark, or at least their style, was to put these big inner monologues, very consistent issue to issue, and that's the long game that Claremont has always played. You know, he'll drop a little hint here, follow it up here, and then 30 issues later you finally get the payoff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until you didn't.
Subplots playing out in people's thought bubbles. You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've kind of dispensed with thought bubbles as a narrative device these days in contemporary comics, which I can see how they go out of fashion, and perhaps one day we'll have them again, but for the most part, just not really something you think. And I wonder if you aren't used to seeing thought bubbles, like if you're a little bit younger or you're newer to reading comics and you're just not used to encountering this, because I'm trying to think, thought bubbles haven't really been a thing since, God, maybe the early 2000s, seems like.
Yeah, I can remember in Wade's Flash, you still had a pretty good inner monologue going on, but maybe not Jeff Johns so much. So that maybe that late 90s into the 2000s time. I'll have to ask Russell with his post-crisis project if he can track this evolution going on. Of course, that's just DC. More germane to the story here is Beast checking out the alarm going off, and there it is that the X-Men are attacking the Hellfire Club and being perceived, at least on the wire, as the villains. And so
it is a police APB that he receives.
Calling all cars. And
basically, yeah.
And so Beast makes a fateful choice. He's like, my good friends, the X-Men, who are like family to me, who I just referred to in my thought bubbles, as that conveniently to remind the reader how close I am with them. What do? So he erases the tape and goes. Right. He erases the log that came into the mansion. So there, somewhere, at least the police station, there'll still be a record of this, but not according to the Avengers state-of-the-art 1981 computer, TRS. I think it is. I think this is a TAM.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's an Omnivac, Univac, one of these big ones where you had the wall panels and everything.
Yeah. So he has violated Avengers protocol in doing this. He is supposed to radio whoever the nearest Avengers members are, but he has not done so. And as he said, erased this dispatch instead. And he's going off to investigate on his own. So he's kind of leaving the mansion in the lurch here. I mean, he's supposed to be on monitor duty.
So, yeah, I think that's a pretty big deal if you look at it.
You would think.
It's not just relegated to one page in Uncanny X-Men, but this would be a big deal in the Avengers. Although Avengers was not one of the stronger selling titles at the time. This was an era of Spider-Man and X-Men dominance for Marvel.
Yeah. And I want to say that, I mean, X-Men had been certainly rehabilitated and was well above the point of cancellation that it hovered at for quite a while, but I don't think it was like the top seller yet for Marvel. I think that this run gets a lot of eyes on it and a lot of buzz for sure, but sales are a little bit slow. They kind of trail the.
Yeah, I forgot about Miller's Daredevil was a huge commercial success at this point too.
Oh yeah, that would have been going on too. Yep, his first run.
So and then you had books like Marvel Team Up. So you did have a lot of Spider-Man dominance in the early '80s. Maybe I don't know how successful the Hulk was, because he was certainly successful on TV, but there was a world of difference between the TV show and the comic book.
Yes, there was. I think, was this still the Bill Mantlo Hulk?
It was Mantlo up until I believe the Alpha Flight and Hulk creative team switch after issue 24, I think,
Yep.
of Alpha Flight. So that was still another couple years ago, like 85 or so. 19.
Yeah, I mean, Alpha Flight doesn't have its own book yet, so we're some ways off.
Yeah,
And
John Byrne doesn't have any writing credits yet at this point. This is
nope,
pre-Byrne FF, I think.
it is. Yeah, this is really Byrne's last collaboration with a writer. From here on out, it seems like he's doing the writing and penciling on his books. He doesn't play well with others. What can you say? I mean, that's John Byrne.
Well, I mean, it worked for him for a while as far as commercially, and people, editorial gave him a lot of space, at least at Marvel, and then DC came a calling. I'm trying to think. He did, Byrne did do, I think, pencils only and maybe a co-plot for his Superman team up book, because he was doing both Superman and Action Comics for a while, I believe.
That's true. Yeah.
So if I can think about that era in Legends, the Legends crossover, he worked with writer Len Wein. So
yes.
That's an anomaly, though. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, and I mean it's a crossover, so you figure it's
short-term thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a higher purpose to this. Not just, it's more of a work for hire kind of thing. Do you want this money or do you not want this money?
Well, to talk to Byrne during his time on X-Men here, I mean, certainly by this deep into the run, he would tell you he was plotting the book primarily. That, I mean, it's Claremont's words on the page, but Byrne was primarily handling the plot, which has been in dispute. I mean, Claremont will be the first to admit, it was a collaborative effort, us plotting the book out together, but it wasn't like I was just sitting back waiting to get a plot from John Byrne, for me to put words over. I mean, Chris Claremont's fingerprints are all over this.
Yes, and the characterizations are so Claremont, everything going on. And it's not like he's just writing the bare minimum of, I'm trying to think of a modern writer who tells the story non-verbally so much. There's so much script here, guys. That,
right.
Even if it is Claremont's taking a backseat in the plotting to Byrne, or if it's done perhaps in a more of a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby's fashion, saying, "Yeah, Jack, come over here. You draw this, and then I'll write the words on it."
Is that what he said? Is that how he said it?
My Stan Lee imitation needs a little bit of work, but Jack Kirby was I can't do it. I can see the imitation in my head. I can see the guy. I'm sure Greg actually can knock his Stan Lee imitation out of the park, but that was the old school Marvel style. Was you have a plot, a very, very loose plot summary written by the writer, who gives it to the artist, say Jack Kirby, who draws it any way he wants, telling the story, and then the scripter, sometimes also the writer, still the writer, usually the writer, finishes it up. So it's a true collaboration, and but the artist typically does a lot more of the writing at that time, as far as the hitting the beats and fleshing out the story. That was a Marvel style thing where the writer let the artist do a lot of the storytelling instead of some people like Marv Wolfman would script out his pages very, very explicitly. Now you got this happening. Now you've got this fight happening, and please do this. If you ever see a Marv Wolfman script, it's highly, highly detailed.
Yeah, and I was going to say, at this point, I don't think Claremont is working full script, but later on, I know he does, because Mark Silvestri talks about getting these insanely detailed long scripts, like you said, Marv Wolfmanian, in their density, and would just be kind of overwhelmed and exhausted trying to illustrate what he's gotten from Claremont. And I think that probably starts maybe around the time of the John Romita Jr. run, because that was the first time Claremont didn't seem like he was really heavily
collaborating or
working in tandem with
right.
his artist as a co-plotter. I don't think JR Jr. contributed a whole lot in terms of plot. I'm not saying that disparagingly. It just, I believe that was the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And from then on, maybe Claremont worked full script. I'm not too sure of that. But here you'd have Byrne kind of bristle at Claremont doing things like, well, he wrote something into this script that I did not intend in my art and that we did not talk about. And they would be comparatively minor things. I don't know that it's really happened up to this point, but there's sort of that push and pull between them. And you never really knew what was going to set Byrne off, but that will intensify over time.
Yeah, Byrne, and there are a lot of comic creators who do that, where the older they get, the more particular they become about certain things. The more the past is seen through a lens, and they're a little more confrontational about things in the public. But I think we know more about this because of things like Twitter and comic conventions and people's reputations and the way people talk. So Byrne just has this persona of not being a likable guy, more of an egomaniac. But there really hasn't been a lot of evolution of Byrne work in the last 25 years. It's all kind of looked of a certain type since the early 90s to me.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just kind of been by the numbers. This is good going all the way back to Namor. I think Namor was the last time I saw anything from Byrne that made me go, okay, cool, this is innovative. This is interesting. Next Men was pretty basic. The stuff with Babe and a lot of his Dark Horse stuff was just kind of there. And his Star Trek things are very by the numbers. At least artistically. I know the stories, your mileage may vary with the stories, but I just haven't seen anything in the art that makes me... I wouldn't draft him at this point in my fantasy creative
yes.
comic fantasy draft.
That's
I wouldn't trust
good way to put a spin on it, yeah.
I might have him ink. I don't know if we need an inker, but we're not geeky enough to have draft inkers at this point.
Oh gosh, can you imagine?
Speaking of inks, I thought this page with a one-on-one Pierce versus Colossus. How's that for a segue? That was a good segue, Todd. Pierce versus Colossus one-on-one battle on this page. I don't have a page number on it, but it's where we are in the story. The inks look maybe a little different, a little not Terry Austin to me. I don't know if it's more it was a Deadline thing or Austin. They almost look like Joe Sinnott or somebody.
Let's say they're a little heavier.
Yeah, they are heavier, and the actions, it's maybe not quite as dynamic, although that's more from the breakdowns. You see the dynamism, but ink is more about the detail. This is a little blockier, so I don't know, especially panel 2. That does not look like a Terry Austin inked page or panel of Colossus to me. But, who knows? Terry Austin, one of the best inkers in the history of comics. Inking is a lot of work, and being consistent with inking is tough. So maybe it's not Terry Austin, but it looks to me to be a little bit different. We were talking about nuances in your inkers, and certain pencilers have favorite inkers that they work with, and Perez in recent years has liked to work with a guy named Alvey. Actually, the last 20 years or so, that's been his preferred.
He did Avengers with Alvey, didn't he?
Yep. And that's kind of the guy you associate later Perez with, although I've always preferred Perez inking his own, which is just tough for him to do on a time schedule. Most of his Titan stuff was with a Filipino artist named Romeo Tangal, who did a lot of the inks for that. And Mike DiCarlo did some of it. Mike DiCarlo was more of a... Boy, I sound like an old guy on a panel. Mike DiCarlo. Let me tell you about this guy.
Let me tell you about Mike DiCarlo.
He was an Archie artist. He and Dan DiCarlo came from the Archie comics, and so Mike DiCarlo had maybe a little bit different line work compared to Tangal. He was a little bit more detailed than Romeo Tangal, but not as maybe fitting for Perez. I mean, you could always tell when it was Mike DiCarlo inking. It was a little bit more true to him. What's going on in this fight between Pierce and Colossus? There I go again. Colossus rips.
Take a shot, right?
Yeah, there it is. I every time I switch Colossus and Cyclops, it happens a lot. Readers are allowed to.
It's just one of those things. Yeah.
So Colossus rips Pierce's arm out of its socket, and you finally see a little bit of a robot part, a Cybertronic shoulder. So Pierce, at this point, what is he, just a head on a robot body?
I was sort of speculating the extent to which he has replaced his biological parts. We know certainly his arm is entirely cybernetic, but I'm not sure how far that goes at this stage. But yeah, I mean, later on, he is all cyborg. I think he's pretty much a brain and a metal body for the most part. And on that note, we get some human mutant relations 101.
Yeah, this is God loves, man kills here. So
a little bit, yeah,
go
where
for it.
Colossus is like lecturing Pierce on his hypocrisy, essentially telling him, I am proud of who and what I am, little man. My humanity is not in the outward form I wear, but in my soul. Can you say the same? Arg. As Pierce shoves the gaping limb here, broken off at the joint, his arm has been. He shoves that right into Peter's face, and I guess it has some kind of feedback or electrical effects that blind and hurts him. So, yeah, it's I mean, and this is something that we see played up throughout the Hellfire Club, certainly with Sebastian Shaw. We learned that he was backing Stephen Lang's Sentinel program, sort of the man behind the curtain, and he is himself a mutant. So you kind of wonder, how do these two things go hand in hand? And that's just part of their whole deal, where they're like these high society types, but they're pulling the strings and controlling things out of the
right.
public eye, and that's just one of those more interesting elements of the Hellfire Club, I think, as adversaries, is they're not just straight up mustache twirling villains. They have this complexity and this kind of self-contradiction to them. So very good to see that.
Self-loathing,
a little bit, yeah, maybe an element of self-loathing that they have to put on airs, essentially,
right.
and like big themselves up and be something that they're not, to
right.
all appearances.
And the way a group like this was written, Claremont could insert them in other stories or retcon them into other stories, like they were the power behind this power, or and it's which is good. You need that kind of background. You need that story explanation. Of course, you get the Morlocks coming up in a couple dozen issues, and so
yes, the Morlocks.
We could call them the trickle down effects of the Hellfire Club.
That is true. Uh-huh.
So we get back to Nightcrawler, who's doing bicycle kicks.
Mm-hmm.
He's spinning Sebastian Shaw here on his back. It's a pretty great panel. I mean, you could just...
It's almost like a move out of Mortal Kombat more than a wrestling move.
Yeah, he's supporting his... I mean, this is an old exercise thing we had to do as kids, I think. You'd elevate your butt.
Yeah, I remember doing that in like gym.
Elbows at a right angle and then kick your legs like you're riding a bike. But he is spinning. Yeah, it's something out of a cartoon. He's spinning Sebastian Shaw.
Excuse me.
Who then grabs Nightcrawler by the arm and then punches him before Nightcrawler can teleport away. But Storm brings back, attacks Shaw with, and this is yet a different ink look. That particular panel is super duper.
This one, this is very pronounced, and how still looks good. Don't get me wrong.
No, it's almost over detailed compared to Austin. So like it's got more fine line work than I mean, here we are assuming that it's not Austin just because he was so consistent. But Storm hits Sebastian Shaw with a snow blast, which is one of the many things she can do. But I think the Hellfire Club are playing a he who lives to run away, or no, he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. I think they're all trying to get out of Dodge before things get worse, and so they can regroup. They're not planning to stick around and engage and turn this fight. They want to lick their wounds and come back again. So Shaw throws Nightcrawler's prone body into Aurora, which allows Shaw, to enter the underground tunnels or the side tunnels of the Hellfire Club building. Shaw and Pierce encounter each other, and Pierce replies or tells Shaw, well, how can you be so calm? I'm freaking out here. I just got my ass kicked by Colossus,
right?
And here you're chill. You what's going on? And Shaw says, "Oh, this has happened before. We learn, we get stronger. It will be different." So I mean, Shaw's so sanguine about this whole thing that he's not even upset. He's just chill. This is just part of this process, which is good. I mean, it's a smart way to do a villain. More pragmatic.
He's quite the pragmatist, is he not?
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Cyclops is trying to chill out the crowd and make sure that everybody's safe and are not panicking. But Mastermind, who is still on the loose, is using that against him and putting illusions of Cyclops attacking the crowd into the crowd's mind. And it's just all the people having a party at the Hellfire Club here. But the sledgehammer plot comes in where you saw the insulation on the wires fraying earlier from the Wolverine battle in 132. The water reaches the cables and it blacks out. So blacks out the entire club, which Cyclops thinks could make things even worse.
Yeah. And we see Wolverine pulling up with Cyclops. He's lit a match and kind of caught Cyclops off guard. We get the thought bubble, "Cripes, he startled me. Expecting trouble, crept up right behind me without my noticing," which a very Wolverine thing to do.
Yeah.
And so Wolverine is basically awaiting instructions. He's, what do we do from here? And Cyclops is like, "We're done. Let's get out of here. We're just trying to mop up. I'm doing crowd control. So we've got to make a hasty retreat." He's going to go find Jean, and he sends Wolverine to rendezvous with Nightcrawler and Storm, which Wolverine's a little bit reluctant to do, but he says, "You're the boss." So he's deferring to Cyclops here.
Yeah, I mean, Cyclops has earned some respect from Wolverine during this run. And I think it's maybe,
and to the point that it's not a surprise anymore.
Yeah.
It was a process, certainly, but by this stage, it's just sort of old hat for him.
There we are. I had to find my mute button. We wonder what has become of Jean. She. I'm sorry, I just reread the panel that what happened to Henry Leland, and Wolverine says, "Don't ask." So
yeah.
So that
implies, kind of implying that he took him out.
Yeah,
I mean,
we had Kahlua Pig. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm in a Hawaiian food state of mind.
That popped me.
So
he put a pig in the ground, and
exactly. I crack myself up sometimes. That's
that was wrong. That was wrong.
So I wasn't even sitting on that one. Sometimes I'm sitting on jokes, but we get Cyclops looking for Jean. Oh God, I love this Byrne art. I haven't seen some of these panels in so long that you forget. It's beautiful at this time. And just it's when you forget that something's so high quality. You thought you saw it all, or you've had it all committed to memory, and you see some of these. It's just it's like old friends. You know, these great drawings, great issues. Although this second panel is kind of odd. Because you get almost a Keith Giffen drawing of Jean Grey where her face is blacked out. You see a little bit of forehead, but you don't see her face.
Yeah, and that's a frightening image too.
Yeah, and she's 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 plotting to get some revenge on Wingard, who thinks he is hiding from everybody at this point.
And notice that Claremont has really cranked up the purple prose and the narrative captions from the point that Jean has made her reentry. If you look at the narrative captions,
it's all these simple sentences, telling story, pounding you with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they take on a certain quality as we progress. So yeah, that's a great way of blending words and pictures, as I say. So we'll see where this is going.
There's the story, and then the story behind the story, or the thing that's happening under the surface, and that's where the denouement. It's so cool where this just is happening, and you don't necessarily know where it's going because it's not the main focus. You know, the main focus is everybody get out of here. We've got this fight going on. But here we have this payoff about to happen with these literally years of storyline seeds from Claremont of Jean Grey's power getting stronger and stronger and darker and darker. And so Wingard thinks he's getting away, but he eventually... boy, look at that panel. And she laughs to herself. The man is such a fool, and she will enjoy what happens next. But it's all simple sentences, which is interesting.
Yes,
you know?
And to look, and like you said, to look at the images on the page, you think, well, this is kind of your standard boilerplate superheroics. Everything seems fine for the most part.
Right. You would think this is just kind of an average. This is the end of the story. We caught the bad guy. We've surprised, but yeah, reading the panels and just seeing everything gets darker and darker and darker, and then look at her speech bubbles are now, and that's another telltale sign that something crazy is about to happen. And I've always been a mark for the Dark Phoenix fonts, the Dark Phoenix text bubbles. They're so cool, and I can think of in X-Men Teen Titans that they're used to great effect as well, which is still a few years away at this point. But she reveals herself to Wingard that I've caught you. You made a mistake. You killed Cyclops before my eyes, and killed or slew is in quotes. So that woke her up.
Mm-hmm. And it awakened something.
And so, you know, the Phoenix Force, and we'll talk more about that in the coming issues, the coming episodes of this talk. The Phoenix Force bonds with Jean, and, you know, is it just an extension of her personality? Is this something else that's got its own things, and it took aspects of Jean's personality? We'll talk about that as we go. But
yeah, as near as we can tell up to this point, it's Jean,
right?
But you know, that will become somewhat more complicated.
It sure will. Especially, how was Jean in? I just read Marvel Legacy, and apparently Jean Grey was in the Avengers of 10,000 BC, or 100. I forget 1,000,000 BC. I forget where Jason Aaron set that story. It's not Jean, it's the Phoenix. But boy, damn, she looks a lot like Jean Grey to me.
I'm sure she does, as the Phoenix very typically does.
Unless it's that who was it? The Guardians of the Galaxy story there was the male Phoenix who I'd never.
Oh yeah, gosh, yeah.
Jim Valentino.
I was about to say that was a Jim Valentino effort.
Yeah. Remember when that was the Guardians of the Galaxy? That was.
I do.
And that was I don't get
with the great character find of 1991 Talon.
Who was Wolverine?
Or whatever year it was.
Wolverine in the future, or his descendant, or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, there's still a Wolverine out there, Marvel.
Oh yeah, need to exploit that.
Yeah. So
don't bring him back yet.
All right, so we're holding off on the reveal because it's such a great moment, but we can avoid it no longer. Instead of enslaving me forever, you shocked me awake and you set me free too late. And Wingard's saying, no, I compensated for that. My power should have kept yours in check. And she goes, your power is nothing. Just gorgeous art, gorgeous storytelling. But now she's unleashing on him. So we still have a couple pages. I thought the page I thought was about to happen is still a little bit away. She's going nuts on him.
Yeah.
Bonzo Gonzo, she is.
Well, and it's you know what? It's almost a double turn, isn't it?
It is kind of, yeah. Well, it will get there. Yeah. Oh boy, we're this is WrestleMania 13. Only Wingard does not become.
I was going to say this does require us to accept Jason Wingard as a face, which is impossible.
He doesn't pass out. He taps out and he runs away like a little bitch. So
yeah.
So we don't have our Stone Cold Wingard happening.
If you didn't know anything about these respective characters, though, you would think, oh, this demonic-looking redhead must be the villain of the story, and she's harassing this poor nobleman.
Yeah. And here's another case where this particular, I don't know if it's the coloring enhancement they did for Marvel Unlimited, but it doesn't look like Terry Austin anymore. Again, some of the panels do, but this Wingard stuff at the bottom doesn't look like him at all. Looks more like almost George Perez did the inks or something. I wonder if that's what's going on.
Yeah, I'm getting the same effect in the reproduction of the issue itself.
So here we had a lot of Jean Grey's got her comeuppance on Jason. He's pinning him to the wall and using her Phoenix effect, which is her claw, kind of fiery claw talons, which pinning him, just going nuts on him, using her psychic powers, using everything. But it's definitely more of the fire aspect, which is cool. But she's finding out, well, what did you do to me? She's finding out that he was messing with her when she was vulnerable, when she thought vulnerable. That's much better. When she thought Scott was dead, he kind of stepped into the void. He was using her. He was messing with her mind. He was playing a long game, and it's finally come to light. All the things he was doing, and she's just dominating him. She is beating the shit out of Jason Wingard here in a trying to think. It almost all we can do is come back to wrestling. You know, she's just dragging him around the arena, and this is a beatdown that you don't usually see from a good guy in comics.
Stomping a mud hole, absolutely.
This is real. It really is.
She retrieves his what's called his mind tap mechanism. So it's this little gizmo in his shirt pocket that he has been using in conjunction with the White Queen, who we dispatched a few issues ago, but that is how he was projecting his illusions directly into her mind. And we talked about how he is not himself a telepath. He's merely an illusion caster. So how did he get his hooks into her to the extent that he did? And this is how, using this little MacGuffin.
I had forgotten all about this little part of it where we got the explanation of how this Mort of a character was able to step up to the big leagues.
Right.
So, and it also boosts up the reputation of Emma Frost.
Yeah, that she had a hand in that as well.
So, and Gene's talking about how using this device, he was able to access her illusion or her private fantasies, her Outlander thoughts, as I like to call them, to to the forefront and giving her what she secretly wanted, this dark romantic thing persona, and yet it consumed her.
Yeah, apparently she's into a gothic romance, I guess.
Yeah, she Jean had was into something
on some level. Yeah.
She was writing some kind of fanfic about,
I guess so,
about Anne of Green Gables, but
hey, as you do. I mean,
Anne of Green Gables meets the Vampire Lestat. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with some kind of period thing, but yeah, this art is not. It can't be Terry Austin on these inks, because all of a sudden it doesn't look like John Byrne's art on Wingard's face at all. So I don't know. I'm not nitpicking. I'm just saying it looks a little bit different. I think that I'm going to have to ask. I have somebody who knows. Somebody who knows.
I was going to say, ask John Byrne.
Yeah. Hey, John, who inked that panel? But she is messing with him, and now she's going into his mind. So she is messing with his powers and his he messes with reality, or at least the reality within people's minds, and so she is boosting that power to the nth degree. And this is pretty crazy, because she basically lobotomizes him here.
Right. She puts his consciousness in touch with the cosmos, gives him this sort of psychic thrill ride, I guess, that it is more than his feeble mortal mind can handle. And as the captions tell us, some people can handle the experience, some people can't.
Who's out there who could handle this experience? I want to know.
Yeah.
Hey, Jean Grey, got any more of that?
Yeah. What are you holding? Any cosmic consciousness boosting experiences?
I mean, I can handle it. I'm one of those people who can handle it. But great art here, because she totally has wiped him out. Enjoy your trip, Jason. You won't be coming back. And you look at him, and he's not there anymore. Jason's not here right now.
No, he's elsewhere.
And she's still calling him Jason. She's not calling him Mastermind. So maybe we get an answer to that.
Yeah.
In a way, I envy you, Jason. You're at peace, but Phoenix doesn't know the meaning of that word, and that goes back to a thought bubble. And she is identifying not as Jean, or not saying I don't know the meaning of that word. It's Phoenix. So,
the third person narration is a little bit unsettling.
So yeah, things are. She has never done this to a villain, where she just totally dragged him around the room psychically and physically, and then expanded his consciousness so he's gone. He's basically, but she didn't kill him.
She did not kill him.
She could have, but she maybe, instead of destroying him utterly, she put him in hell for the. And
he will actually be back, although not.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, spoiler alert for some.
But we won't.
35-plus-year-old comics, and this will be long after the run that we're covering.
Yeah, both in real time and in Conversation Comics time. If we ever get to where the character Jason Wingard / Mastermind hypothetically comes back or does not come back, it will still be years in the future.
This is true, yes. And check out this caption. The obsidian flames burn brighter within her, and in the distance she hears music, a symphony of power, long sought and well remembered. I mean, this so Baroque, this scripting by Claremont. And I mean, in a way, the captions themselves are even colored purple.
They are. That's true.
So, or maybe kind of magenta, but whatever. I mean, it's the kind of thing you can roll your eyes at, but when you look at the context, I don't know of any other superhero comics of 1981 that were doing this kind of thing.
This is I'm starting to see metaphors here that I haven't seen before in comics, my friend.
It's very metaphorical, and it's I don't know, it's a lot of building to a crescendo, right?
So to speak.
The choice of words that he's using. And I guess if you're sort of a literary nerd, you can read these things, and if you're in a hurry, you definitely can't read a Chris Claremont comic on the run. But you got a little time to stretch out and luxuriate in his prose. There's ample opportunity to do so here.
I mean, that's the biggest difference in old comics to new comics. And I don't want to say all old comics, because most Silver Age comics I can read in a hurry. I read last night the Dawnbreaker, Green Lantern issue, Green Lantern Batman, Dark Knight's crossover issue in 4 minutes. And I enjoyed it still.
Wow.
It was still something but it was, the story was mostly told by the art, and then with some simple sentences of conflict or exposition. But I think I got everything out of it that I could get. And I still liked it. It's still, to me, especially the art is gorgeous. But if I go back and look at one of these, I have to read it 2 or 3 times, outside of context. I mean, now I can read it once just because I've seen so many of these stories play out. There's so much going on here. This is a half hour of your life at least.
Yeah, and that's how I sort of knew, do I have time to finish this comic before I have to whatever? I would measure it in terms of, okay, it's Chris Claremont, it's going to take 30 minutes to get through this. If it's a double-sized issue, I better set aside an hour.
Yeah.
That became my measuring stick when I started getting heavy into reading comics and noticing the creator credits.
Yeah, and you start picking up on, well, that writer writes a story of narration on one level, script on another level, thought balloons on another level. I mean, there's so many things going on with a Byrne script. I mean, I'm sorry, with the Claremont script. And then there's details in the art. There's little things. There's, oh, wait, what happened to that character? I got to go back a couple pages. There's so many threads going on that, I mean, it still reads as state of the art to this day. It still reads as something I'm very invested in and enjoy a lot. And for a while there, older comics were not doing anything for me, where I'd go back and read something and like, this is a stupid story. Justice League, up to about 180 of the traditional Justice League of America run, I can't read, even though some good writers, terrible artists, Dick Dillon for the most, average level artists for the most part. But until I think that first crossover story with the New Gods, and Justice League became a what I would call a readable modern comic. But and like X-Men pre Claremont, I mean, Giant Size is okay. Some of the Roy Thomas, Neil Adams stuff is okay. But you go back beyond that, and it's just kind of, this is an old comic that's
the Silver Age is.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there are some rare writers like Steve Englehart or Len Wein's a good example. Somebody who was better than average, who wrote more details than average, but they were still kept super. Even early Bronze Age would have some things that are just kind of basic. Average issue of Marvel Team Up or Brave and the Bold, which were very popular crossover comics because it had a high selling superhero with another character you wouldn't see as often. So I like comics like that. DC Presents, Marvel Team Up, Brave and the Bold. They're just not very good. They're usually written to be done in one issue, and there's not a lot of detail or motivation to the story, and it's written for kids, quite frankly. This is most certainly not written for children.
Right. I think they recognize that's kind of who their audience is, but Chris Claremont wasn't going to dumb down his script and his writing to that. He sort of had faith in his readership that either have the intellectual curiosity or the attention span to follow along. And if there's something there's a word you've necessarily not seen before, then, well, that's what dictionaries exist for. I mean, he didn't really pull his punches.
No, and I can thinking of writers of the time. We were starting to see Alan Moore write with Miracle Man, and that's even, I'd say, a different level from here. beyond. I mean, even more
Right, yeah.
sophisticated. But this is still just so well scripted, so well built. Jean and the X-Men, all 6 of them finally get together. Colossus kind of comes out of nowhere and reunites with the team, and they're finding their way out of the hallway, but we're still following and tracking Jean. She's the central figure. We're in her head, and we're actually in Cyclops' head too. But Cyclops and Jean reunite. He says, "We've been looking for you. Are you okay?" And she does something that she hasn't done before since establishing the link. She mutes the link basically between she and Cyclops. She's hiding from him. She is withdrawing from him, but he doesn't say anything about that. he's concerned. Well, are we safe? Is Mastermind around here? But she says, no, I took care of him, which kind of implies, he's gone, he's dead, or he's dealt with. But he can tell something's up with Jean. Something is very, very wrong with Jean Grey. She says, you can't help me, my love. No one can. In her head, she's running away. We're getting out. The whole team gets together. Wolverine says, all present, Psych. What now? Looking to the Cyclops for leadership and direction, which is more evolution from Wolverine. But Jean Grey takes the point as the leader here. We run for it, short stuff. That's the one thing that's a little bit out of context or out of character for Jean.
Yeah.
we don't say we run for it, short stuff. That's a low blow. Wolverine just busted his ass to save you all.
Well, she can needle him a little bit after the way that he treated her early in their relationship. They settled into a more kind of respectful and
I don't take that from anybody, let alone a frail like you.
Yes. Yeah, that's not too far in the
that's
rear view, is it?
It's only about a year and a half ago. So because she's psychic, she has these powers. She knows what's going on. The police are closing in because they think they can arrest the X-Men. Who, good luck, you've got a god on the team now, and
right.
Hellfire Club. She mentions that they're lawyered up, and so if they're captured, the Hellfire Club can really do some damage to the X-Men. So let's get out. Vamonos. And so they do. They escape outside the building. But Shaw swears revenge, and he says that I am going to ruin your reputation. You're going to be outlaws. You're going to be public enemy number 1. You're going to be hated.
And you know what I realized? He's kind of right.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is where things kind of change for them. As far it had happened a little bit before too, with some of the other things where they just weren't treated at the level of respect with the other teams. But
right now, I was thinking the exact same thing. But I mean, when you look at what becomes sort of that overriding theme of X-Men comics from here on out, it is the whole
hated
mutants.
By a world that they're sworn to protect. And
Exactly. And as a sort of persecuted minority, like you said, we'd seen glimpses of that throughout the run up to this point. I mean, anytime the Sentinels popped up, but even though they were kind of hounded by the Sentinels and these anti-mutant bigots, you didn't get the impression necessarily that those adversaries had full-scale public support. And now that is shifting. That's a big paradigm shift where, for all intents and purposes, the X-Men have just attacked this private club. They are being pursued by police. They're on the run. And yes, the Hellfire Club does have very powerful lawyers and very powerful spin control too.
Right. Yeah, they're part of the establishment for the most part. And so they can do damage to you beyond what's going on physically. They can just fuck you up in the real world, IRL, if you will.
Exactly. And not that we haven't seen it before, but from this point, there is no turning back. I mean, they don't turn that switch off after this.
No, and really up until X Factor comes out as we are that's the idea that there's no going back, and we've got to reframe this. You know, how do we make this work for us for mutant kind? Which is
early X Factor was so bad too.
It's bad, but it's a good idea. But it's poorly.
It's it's a really interesting idea, but it was so like, what were you thinking? it's just,
and we'll get to it. But the way they used X Factor as motivation to bring a certain character back a certain way, we'll talk about that a lot in the next couple episodes. So yeah, Shaw has sworn revenge, and he's not, he's nonplussed. He's seen defeats before, and he knows his full powers and resources. Meanwhile, the team it's like they're waiting for their Uber here on the curb outside the club.
Yes.
Or are they waiting for Beast? Probably. I don't know if they know Beast is coming, but that's kind of what we think is going on, or I think is going on. But Scott is lamenting that Jean has shut him down, shut him off. When they're alone, we'll talk alone, and everything will be okay. But Jean is not right. Cyclops touches a control stud on his wristwatch, a button, or so something that they've got this. Looks like an X sub, or it's a land sea or a air sea vehicle.
And we've seen this thing before. It's not the Blackbird, but
it's almost like it's the hub of the Blackbird, though. You can imagine it being like when Star Trek would have saucer separation. I don't think that's the case, but you can almost imagine it being part of a larger vessel.
I had the Blackbird toy, the Toy Biz action figures.
Wow, how big was it?
Well, the thing is, the Blackbird, I think it could fit like up to 3 figures. I want to say it wasn't huge, but it did have the kind of front compartment was detachable, and it did kind of look like this thing.
Okay,
so maybe you're onto something there.
But I don't think we ever explicitly saw this connect with the Blackbird.
No,
I'm going to have to look and see if that's intentional, or if it's just that's what it looks like. It could. It looks like it could.
It looks like it could, but right.
But you would think they would mention it as well. I don't know. Maybe Burns thought about it, but Claremont just said this is their Skycraft.
Could be. It's some kind of auxiliary vehicle.
But you have 2 stories happening at the same time. You have on the surface level, the X-Men are regrouping. They're going to go back to are they going to go back to New Mexico and get Professor X? Or we never saw Beast again. I thought Beast was going to pick them up, but I don't think he's going to, because they had their own.
No, we don't see him just yet.
So we will see him soon, I know. But on the other level, we have Cyclops just worried and overwhelmed with thoughts about Jean, how he wonders if he's out of his depth with her. She's hurting badly. Something's definitely wrong with Jean, but his powers don't do a darn thing. So let's get Professor X to help us, because he's the world's most powerful mutant, or at least the most powerful telepath, and so he can definitely help what's going on. But everybody else is noticing that things are not right. Meaning everybody else, meaning Colossus and Storm, they are noticing that something's up with Cyclops, who is upset because he's feeding off Jean, and so she implies, well, I guess she has tapped down the link between them. He is not in her head, but because she is telepath, she can be in all of their heads, so she knows that he knows what's going on, and he's really but she also says it's too late. Too late for me, too late for us, too late for everything. So she's just holding off this power that's about to explode in her. She reels under the impact of more sensations than she has names for. My God. As her song,
this is playing out like a fever dream almost, or like a really fucked up anxiety dream.
This is the mutant episode of Emmanuel, I think, on Showtime. She reels under the impact of more sensations that she has names for as her song of power builds to its inevitable crescendo.
There we go.
Wow. Here come the boys. Oh, I'm just reading the script at this point. I'm sorry. I'm getting so worked up over this. I've got the vapor.
It's hard not to.
Gasp and swoon. Wolverine remarks that the cops are finally onto the scene at the Hellfire Club because they're New York cops. It feels like they've been in there for a year, and the cops would have been there a lot sooner, but they got out of there. Everybody is kind of distracted by that. They're up in the sky looking down at the cops, but then something has happened. We get the return of that Phoenix font. Against an army Wolverine, you would have at least a hope of survival. She's referring to the cops there. Against me, you have none. And this is still off panel. Everybody is responding to Jean Grey has gone full heel. She is Dark Phoenix. And you have this kind of hurricane effect behind her. Hear me, X-Men. I'm no longer the woman you knew. I'm life and fire incarnate. I read that backwards. Now and forever, I am Phoenix. Boom. Explosion. Yeah. And then we get to the next issue, Dark Phoenix. So what has happened is her costume has reappeared and it's turned red. She looks evil. She's definitely just not herself anymore. She's full of power, full of darkness.
And it's an inversion of her original transformation and her original rise from the waters as Phoenix. She's saying, I think, the same words.
It's the same script. It's the same.
Yeah, but taking on a very different meaning. And I mean, basically the way it plays out is it looks like she detonates. She does blow up the ship that they're in, but it's like there's just this time bomb that she was this time bomb and she has just gone off.
Yeah, it's been building up for such a long time that we finally have this reveal that she is succumbed.
Mm-hmm. And it is quite frightening. I do like that she doesn't say, I am Dark Phoenix.
No.
Because that would just, that's what we refer to her as, but it's kind of dumb. It's like saying, it's like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants calling themselves the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Right.
So, yeah, we know that the next chapter, we are going to be dealing with Dark Phoenix. But this is Phoenix at her most concentrated and corrupt.
And it
is their worst nightmare.
It is more of a story going into a bigger story, leading into a bigger story. There's no rest for the weary.
No,
we're these things are just popping and exploding as we go. The story is reaching this crescendo, not just the power of her. And
that's right.
I wonder,
and it's another example of the characters snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Right. We got through this thing. We should be relieved, but then all of a sudden, the greater menace rears its head. And this particular greater menace has been there the whole time, just building and building. I think all the way back to the Macran crystal, or where do you think the origins of this happened? Even before Jason Wingard, or was it just stuff that
I guess you can go back to the stuff with the crystal when she was in the what did they call it, the matter heart of the Imcron crystal, and Storm I think even remarked on how godlike she seemed in her powers and just distant from humanity. That was certainly a theme even before Wingard came into the picture, that she was sort of evolving. Talk about X-Men comics and the nature of human evolution, and she is very far beyond humanity now. Or so it seems.
Just to talk about the Phoenix itself for a while. The Phoenix Force is a cosmic entity that's independent of Jean Grey, that saved her life when everybody thought she was dead. It bonded with her. It took on her appearance. It basically, according to continuity at this point in Marvel, just it was a nameless, faceless thing that joined up with her, enhanced her powers, because it's still a matter of telekinetic powers and telepathy, just to the nth degree, right? Or there's more cosmic.
Yes, and I mean, to be totally honest, it's it's a little bit ambiguous, and from what I gather, even from reading interviews with the people in charge, there was some disagreement on what exactly was going on. I think Claremont and Byrne's intent was, this is just Jean Grey, who was exposed to radiation like the Fantastic Four, and it messed with her powers and enhanced her powers to a tremendous degree. And beyond that, it was following her development as a character and how she perceived her new abilities and what she could do and how that changed her. But at the same time, when you get into this really heavy stuff about, she's talking in the third person and she's essentially unrecognizable in character as Jean Grey. She's quote unquote evil. I think it was Jim Salicrup who said, I looked at it as a possession, that she was no longer in control of her faculties, that it was like The Exorcist, essentially, where Jean herself is no longer culpable for whatever happens from this point on, just as you would not hold Reagan from The Exorcist, this little girl, responsible for what happens when she's literally possessed by a demon.
It burns! It burns! Yes. So The Exorcist always gets a pop for me.
I love it.
It's classic and timeless. And short anecdote about The Exorcist. There was I'm a big Walt Disney World and Disney parks fan. I went to.
I am really wondering how these are going to be intertwined.
Yes, and yes, you will find out. I went to Disney World in it must have been 2003, summer of 2003, with my parents, just a family vacation. We don't get out to the East Coast very often. We have timeshare membership, so we could go different places. So I went to Disney World with my family, and I was the only one of the three brothers who was there, which was kind of certainly a unique situation. So I got to go to the theme parks every day I wanted to. My parents were more into just the pool and hanging out, but it was a nice trip just with me and them. And so I went to Disney's MGM Studios, which is now called Disney Hollywood Studios, but that's a theme park that's kind of based around the movies, and they have a troupe of players.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say I've been to MGM when it was MGM,
yeah,
but not since it changed.
So they do like focus on the movie making, and they have a studio tour, or they had a studio tour. They had this movie ride that's all about the history of the movies, the great movie ride. But they had a troupe of players called Streetmosphere who were all kind of doing classic Hollywood tropes, characters, guys. One guy's the cop, one guy's the director. And they had they called it the Hollywood Glee Club. This is one of their regular segments. So these are improv players that interact with guests. And so they had their bits that they would do, but they were also all gifted, funny comedians. So they had the Glee Club, which is where they come out. They ask for you to, all right, so we need to work on our songs. They had some rehearsed songs that they would do, but each song that you would ask, we're going to take some requests now. So can you please do... give me a theme of a song, and all the songs, if you ask for them, all right, please do the theme for The Lion King. They would do it to the tune of Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind. So The Lion King.
Interesting.
And so then they would act a little bit out. One guy would do the Simba thing with holding the baby up. And it's funny because this is what they do. So I asked for The Exorcist. It was great. So they thought they talked amongst themselves for about 5 seconds and they worked it out. I don't think anybody had ever asked for The Exorcist before.
Deciding, are they really going to do this?
No, but somebody had a cape, and so they maneuvered the cape, their character's cape, in front of them, and so they made the Exorcist. The Exorcist, and then has those little break-ins. So they did the sequence with her head turning around by manipulating the cape to do it. I mean, just absolutely brilliant. And so that was one of my dream jobs for a while. I would love to be one of the improv players there at Disney World. You know, they have other things they have to do there, but they're paid as actors with equity. You know, they get union contracts. So that would have been a great job, but was never to be. So Phoenix was possessed. I like that interpretation of it. I mean, the Phoenix Force is certainly very, very powerful.
Yeah, and I mean that's not really a thing yet.
No, it's not.
I mean, it is. That's the what this becomes. But
I don't want to say they're making it up as they're going along. They're adding layers to the story.
Right, and this whole thing started as, or I don't know if it started as that, but the idea was that Chris Claremont and John Byrne had was, let's take a hero and turn them into a villain. We see the inverse of that all the time. Like, we see villains reform and become heroes, but we've never really seen a hero turn to villainy, like, as a permanent character change. I mean, yeah, you'll get little short-term stories where something like that'll happen, but it's always like attributed to mind control or some kind of shenanigans.
Right,
but
a short-term story written with a way out if it doesn't take, you know.
Yep. And the idea here was, let's do that. And by the way, it kind of moves Jean off the board, because now in X-Men we have the Thor problem, which is you have a character that's so ridiculously overpowered that it pretty much just renders the other characters completely useless.
Yes.
Which there's various ways around that and justifications to make that not the case, but it is a legitimate issue in storytelling when you have a character like that. So it was sort of like, all right, well, let's just make her a bad guy. And I don't know, as we'll see in the third act of this epic that they are now telling, I think the story gets away from them a little bit, and they will admit to as much. But that was sort of the idea, and I think still the idea as of this issue. And they honestly weren't planning too far ahead.
No, and we'll talk about that in depth as we see the repercussions from 135 into 136 and 137. Because each issue created questions that editorial would push one certain way. It's like, well, no, there's no way we can do this. We can't. But we're foreshadowing, folks. We'll talk about that because it does feel like, in retrospect, you can see them. You can kind of see them not showing their work. You can kind of see them biting off a lot and then saying, well, we'll fill in the blanks later with this. But she's terrifying, great character design. I love that the font changes. I love that, you don't see her eyes at all, but it's still. So I wonder, how early was this the plan? But you spoke to the Thor problem. You spoke to how she was suddenly even more powerful than the team's leader, and she was never even considered a part of the team, at least officially on the. If you look at the covers, it wasn't. It was more like special guest star Phoenix for a long time. Yeah, but
or special guest stars of the X-Men. In Phoenix comics.
If you look over the course of these, that's absolutely how it plays, because this has been the tying thread through everything. It's just been her progression and this de-evolution into evil for her, or at least her power building and corrupting and corrupting. So that does it for Uncanny X-Men 134 from 1981. Too late, the heroes. And boy, is it. We'll find out just how late it is for them. So this may be a new record for us. We've gone 2 hours on one issue.
Oh my!
I mean, we tied our record, but I think this has done a nice job of catching us up and following the progression of the Dark Phoenix saga. And so I think this is going to be our standalone one issue episode. What do you think?
We did it.
I'm going to call it. I'm calling it. This podcast, there's no way we can top that. We just went 2 hours on 118 page comic. Good Lord.
Oh my Lord.
All right. So,
I don't know if that's an achievement or it's something.
I'm proud of it. I am.
Yeah, I like it.
I regret nothing. So
same here.
But we will pick up soon. I promise my audience it will be a shorter duration between this episode and our next episode than it was with this episode and our previous episode. It's been a while, but I will put up links if you want to catch up and just listen to our issue by issue breakdown of the Dark Phoenix saga and the whole Claremont Byrne run. I'll put links up for those on the main page here at placetobenation.com. Thank you for subscribing to Place to Be Nation Pop on iTunes or Stitcher, or we have a new app, podcast app that I will be telling you about that we at Place to Be Nation will be somewhat, or at least Place to Be Nation Pop will be somewhat involved with. A friend of mine is designing a podcast specialty app, and it's already on the Android store, but it's not on the iOS store. So I'll talk about it more when it's actually out on the iOS store. We'll be doing perhaps some kind of quid pro quo agreement with them. We'll scratch their back, they'll scratch ours. We'll talk about them, they'll talk about our network. So we'll see. Wish me luck with that, because we need to get some more ears and eyes on our shows. We've got some great shows here on the network. First and foremost, here on Place to Be Nation Pop Network, we have the Hard Traveling Fanboys, the weekly look at everything in comics. They do weekly segments on new comics coming out, new shows, and they also do the news, but they also have featured segments talking about in-depth things like the new Marvel movies or Marvel movies in sequence, off the page, where they talk about non-comics properties using comics characters, such as video games or board games, or usually games of some sort. So Hard Traveling Fanboys, a show that I have been proud to produce for, over a year and a half, just had their 77th episode come up. Tim has been on that show many times. Hard Traveling Fanboys is our flagship show here at Place to Be Nation Pop. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let the powers that be push other shows over the top. Hard Traveling Fanboys is the paragon of Place to Be Nation.
The prestige.
It is. It's
Place to Be Nation Pop.
It's the pinnacle. Too sweet to be
pearl.
sour. All right, so yeah, we need Dusty Rhodes to talk it up. But we also have some other fine shows, such as the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, which comes out here and there. They've been coming out with some Star Trek talk recently, so check them out. That's a good podcast, well-produced, great music. I have always enjoyed Glenn when he has his shows come out. He and his brother Scott do a great job. We also have Geek and Sassy, a look at all kinds of different aspects of pop culture, but specifically nerd and geek culture, geeky TV shows, board games, books, comics, all over the place. Miranda, I always say Miranda, but it's not. The I is silent.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, I've never seen that word. Her parents. I wonder if she loves her mom for that or hates her mom for that. I mean, it's the only Miranda there is, but it's Miranda. So I apologize, Miranda, for mispronouncing your name the way it's spelled. But Miranda and Jennifer, happy birthday, Jenny. It is today technically her 35th birthday, but she probably won't hear this for a week and a half or so. But we love you, and we're proud of you for doing such a great job with your shows of Geek and Sassy. We also have Sellers Points, show that I have been on a lot. And Tim, you've been on a couple times, yeah?
Yes, I have.
So Sellers Points, Russell and Harrison / Kelly doing all kinds of different shows based on lots of different stuff. We have The Mist and the Maligned. We have Rebooking. We have Current Events, the most recent one where they talk about both Marvel Legacy and DC Knights Dark Metal. I did it wrong. DC Dark Knights Metal. There we go. Great shows. Russell killing it every time. Really value him. We also have a brand new podcast, ladies and gentlemen, called The Sunday Groove, all about music. And David Sunday talks about his favorite bands, his favorite albums, and always has a different guest talking about what they like. Have you been approached to be on The Sunday Groove yet, Tim?
No, that's the one show we've been through that I have not been a part of yet, but then it did just start. So
that's true. They've had 3 episodes. Third one will be dropping just before this particular episode of Conversation Comics. But Tim, if you were to be asked to be on Sunday Groove, what would you insist that you talk about, and why would it be the theme to Beverly Hills 90210?
Okay. Well, certainly an iconic theme of my youth and of watching programs that were age inappropriate for the age that I was, but talk about how evocative music is, and that really puts you back in a certain place in time, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean,
It does.
Hear that fire up, you know where you were and when you heard it.
Yeah, well, I believe I was at the Peach Pit myself.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe jamming at the After Dark.
Yeah, I was chasing Andrea Zuckerberg.
How were you?
Do you remember that one episode where she tried to seduce Brandon, and then it ended up being like a plot to throw him a party?
Yes. Do you remember when she and Steve actually made out? It was like season 1, I want to say. Did you drop off the call entirely because of this the shock and revelation?
I threw up in my mouth just a little bit, and I had to clear that disgusting sound from the mic. But
I see. That's an appropriate reaction.
Yeah, Steve. They tried to do things with Ian Ziering's Steve Sanders and his bizarre albino fro.
He is a somewhat unique
and Kelly,
aesthetic.
Kelly, who else did Kelly date on the show? She started out dating Steve Sanders. She gravitated towards Brandon a little bit.
She did, but they didn't.
Dylan first.
Like they teased it, but didn't actually go. I think they were like prom dates one time or something.
Okay.
And then Dylan was 2-time Brenda with her. And I mean, they were an actual couple for a couple seasons.
I think she and Dylan had the best chemistry, honestly.
Yeah, they did. I mean, she and Brandon, they were just like too perfect together. You know, it was like, ugh, gross.
Yep.
I mean, it made sense, but it was like, it just kind of put a foul taste in your mouth.
You don't want to date your sister's best friend. It doesn't work. I mean, because if it goes wrong, you're going to screw up your sister's friendship, for one.
Yes.
Even if you're,
I guess. Well, I suppose that friendship was already kind of put out to pasture, considering
Kelly.
Kelly basically stole Dylan from Brenda. And I couldn't stand Brenda by the end. By the way.
Yeah, she just got more and more, I don't know, 2-dimensional. This, which is funny because
Valerie was such an upgrade. Just in every way.
And that was the actress from, and see, now that was kind of where I gravitated towards shows like Melrose was when Brenda left and they brought in, was Valerie the transplant, Tiffany Amber Thiessen, yes?
Yes. So, yeah, she was Kelly from Saved by the Bell, and they brought her into 90210 as a Brenda replacement, essentially. And it was kind of cool because they played up she's a very wholesome character on Saved by the Bell, you know, kind of the goody good type. And they were playing that up because they knew that was her image and her impression that people would have of her. But then they did like a heel turn at the end of her first appearance, and she was actually a bad girl. So it was, yeah, and she turned out to be a really great character. I mean, I thought she was an improvement, an upgrade on Shannon Doherty, who I was just really sick of by that point.
So this was Valerie as opposed to Emily Valentine.
Oh, yeah. Emily Valentine was one of Brandon's early girlfriends who kind of kept coming back around. I think they were actually dating in real life. So they brought her back a couple.
So Emily Valentine was played by an actress who I've seen on other shows. And what was her name?
Oh, God.
I know. We here we go. We asked the questions that only Wikipedia can answer.
Yeah.
But was she not the same actress who played Harper Tracy on ER?
Oh, was she?
I don't know. Let's find out, or if that's just my broken memory.
Let me see. All right, Emily Valentine.
I'm typing with one hand because I have to hold my mic.
I see. That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Christine Elise. That's her name.
But now we have to go to imdb.com.
That's where I am. Yeah.
And find Christine Elise, who also played Harper Tracy on ER season 2.
You're right. Huh.
So, did you? And you were an intense fan of both shows, if I recall, Mr. Capel.
Yes, but the early seasons of ER I haven't seen as much of.
Okay. I mean, most ER fandom is kind of like everybody has seen not everybody, but a lot of people saw the first few and then they dropped off when the stars started leaving and then they came back.
Yeah.
But that's not your experience with it.
No, and I mean, I've seen, I don't know, maybe half of the episodes from the first 3 or 4 seasons. So those first few years where, like you said, that was what most people have actually seen, if they've seen any of that show. And I think that's what won them a lot of their critical acclaim. A little bit more of a blind spot for me.
Okay.
I mean, I know what the stories were and what was going on, and
the arcs of the characters.
But as far as seeing them, and especially some of the bit players,
right? Well, such as Harper Tracy, aka Emily Valentine / Christine Elise. Somewhere out there, my subconscious has written a story where Harper Tracy actually is Emily Valentine, who entered the witness protection program after testifying against what was his name? I'm see, this is all just the dark places.
What did he do?
I can't remember what he did, but she was just a bad girl. I think it was Brandon's mom and dad that she ended up testifying against.
Oh shit! What did they do?
They were money launderers.
Oh God! This is your headcanon about the Walshes.
Yes, it is. I am the world's only ER/90210/shameless fanfic writer, but all in my own head.
Very invested in your expanded television universe.
I need to work on it. I need to develop this. And I know, folks, there's a thing called Reddit that people like me are supposed to go to, but I don't play well with those apps. I don't Snapchat. Here I am, JR barbecuing again. I don't Snapchat. I don't Reddit. I don't Tumblr. I stick to the classics, baby. I stick to Facebook and Twitter, and that's it. So
I tried. You know what? I tried to Reddit, and I mean, you're right. We're too old for those things.
I think we are. And yet you're 10 years younger than me. So what's that?
I was going to say, yeah.
So
I mean, not to be a dick about it, but I can tell you, I definitely feel too old for those things. And I tried with Reddit, and I was just like, I can't do this.
I was too old for MySpace at the time, quite frankly.
So.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break for station identification, but be sure to stick around for what promises to be quite the epic closing segment.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, pro wrestling announcer Kevin Kelly here. I want to make sure you are all subscribed to all the great feeds here at Place to Be Nation. It's really easy to do. Just head to iTunes or your preferred podcatcher app today and search and subscribe to the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, which, of course, includes the full archives of the Kevin Kelly Show, the Place to Be Nation pod feed, and the Pro Wrestling Only feed. Subscribe, listen, and then rate us and leave feedback today. And be sure to give Justin your true thoughts. I mean, don't hold back. After all, he is kind of a jerk. Just listen to Scott.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have a ton of great podcasts available to you on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com, and we offer those to you on 3 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, we bring you the Mothership, the original Place to Be podcast, as well as Main Event, Lucha Afterground, and our monthly pay-per-view reaction shows, as well as the Our Vantage Point podcast and Jeff Learns Wrestling. In addition to these full-length shows, we also deliver quick-hit pod blasts on topics old and new.
Over on the Pro Wrestling Only feed, we dive deep inside the wrestling business with a stacked army of experts leading the way. The feed features potpourri shows such as This Week in Wrestling, Greetings from Allentown, Psychology is Dead, Puro Potpourri, Stacy and Elliot's Bogus Journey, and the Military Industrial Suplex. We also have shows that focus intently on certain topics like Letters from Center Stage, Space City, and NWA Classics On Demand Adventure, Through the Years, Strong Style History, Strong Style Story, and Mount Olympus. Plus, the feed has the full archives of legendary shows like Titans of Wrestling, Where the Big Boys Play, Letters from Kayfabe, and much more. And on our popular Place to Be Nation Pop podcast feed, we offer such great shows as the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, Rank and File, PTBN Dadcast, Go Home in a Box, NBA Team, and Lucha Undead, as well as a veritable podcast heaven for comics fans with the Hard Traveling Fanboys, Sellers Points, Todd Weber's Conversation, Geek and Sassy, and Imaginary Stories podcasts.
You can find all of these current shows plus archives of our past podcasts, including The Kevin Kelly Show, as well by subscribing to all of our feeds on iTunes, and while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available on PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon when shopping online, and download our free PTB Vintage Vault Refresh ebooks via the links on our site. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and Fall River, Massachusetts, TheHistoryOfWrestling.com, and Scott Keats' Blog of Doom. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
So one more time, we are done talking about Uncanny X-Men 134, kind of the culmination of the Hellfire Club part of the Dark Phoenix saga, but we are moving headlong. I believe we're going to, is it Child of Darkness and Light? Is that where we're going? I think that's kind of the big heel turn where she just fucks shit up all over the Marvel U. And so we're really focused on Dark Phoenix here, but this has been a blast talking about it. We set our new record, 1 issue of X-Men for 2 hours. Tim, I'm proud. Are you proud?
I'm very proud. I think that's an impressive feat. They said we couldn't do it. They said we probably shouldn't do it. But we're doing it.
I can't imagine anybody else I'd rather do it with. And by it, I mean talk about Uncanny X-Men. That is...
Well, likewise.
Thank you. So one more time, for Tim Cable, this is Todd Weber, and we will see you next time here on Conversation Comics. Thanks for listening to Place to Be Nation Pop.
Well, she was standing by the highway in her boots and silver spurs. Gonna hitchhike to the yellow moon when a Cadillac stopped for her. And it said, "Hey, nice to meet you. Are you going my way?" 21. In trouble with the law. And it didn't faze him none. She called her mother-in-law and said, I need a little money. I know I can count on you. After that night in Vegas and the hell that we went through, we went down swinging like Benny Goodman. Yeah, we went down swinging. Yes, we did. Moonlight on the interstate. She was across the Georgia line. Looked out the window, feeling great. Yeah, it had to come in time. And she said, I'm never going back. She said, at last I'm free. I wish Mom could see me now. She'd be so proud of me. Yeah, she went